etiquettes to be maintained. These include the wearing of gloves when serving food, or alternatively, they may use a napkin, but don't blow your nose on it. The essential point being that no part of the hand touches the plate. Wow. Okay, that's a little bit more tea. Okay. Hands and nails are to be perfectly clean. Yep, fair enough. Coughing and breathing loudly are to be discouraged, and they should go about their business quietly. I would also advise that the following table manners are the most appropriate to follow. Okay, let's read these. Spread the napkin over your knees. Never tuck it in or fasten it at the neck. After use, fold your napkin. Hold the fork in the palm of your left hand. If it is held in the right hand, the prongs should face upwards. Just trying to think whether I do that or not. I can't remember. Do not bend over the plate with your head too low, and never have your back turned away from the person next to you. Oops. Never use a spoon to eat vegetables. Always use a fork. Never decline the last piece of bread if offered. It might be seen as a suggestion that the hostess had not provided enough. Under no circumstances must the knife be used to place food in the mouth. It is there for cutting only. Now you know. Let's see. Of equal importance to a successful meal is the order in which the courses are served. Oysters may be served to begin with. You should offer no more than 5 or 6 per person, and ensure that they are served extremely cold and in half of the shell, garnished with a piece of lemon. I really don't like oysters, so I wouldn't have a problem with that. Soup may follow. 2 types are permissible, either a white and a clear soup, or a white soup and a brown soup. Fish is to follow the soup, and you must remember to lay a fish knife as well as a fork. If this hasn't been done, then the use of a fork in the right hand and a small piece of bread in the other may be used. Oops. Remember that certain sauces are served with particular fish. Lobster sauce with turbot, shrimp or caper with salmon, and oyster sauce with cod. Meat and vegetables will follow the fish. Vegetables may include asparagus, sweet corn, artichoke or baked tomato, but never offer more than 2 vegetables with the 1 course. I wonder why. The host's ability to carve is important. This is a skill that requires study and attention. It is acceptable, however, to have the meat carved away from the table and put back to look as though it has not yet been carved. But best of all is to encourage your husband to acquire the skill of carving at the earliest opportunity. Yes, send him away to carving college immediately. Game can follow the meat course and should be served with a salad, which may include cheese with bread and butter. Remember, the bread must always be cut very thin. Oh, I like my bread cut thick. I just wouldn't make this woman happy at all. The table must then be cleared and any crumbs brushed away before dessert is served. Clearing of the crumbs may be done service in the Russian style favours courses being brought out in sequences, whereas the service à la Française, or service in the French style, involves all courses being served at the table at the same time, which is very impressive in appearance but somewhat impractical. It is imperative, if you are adopting this Russian style, that you observe its rules governing the layout of each guest's place setting, or to give it the correct name, cover. Each guest will have a service plate on which a napkin and place card are placed, showing the name of the guest to be seated there. The cutlery must be laid out in order of usage, working from the outside in. If both fruit and salad are being served, then a knife and fork must be brought to table when required, since to have more than 3 items of cutlery laid at once is considered bad form. I hope you're all taking notes. Guests will be seated according to the names on the place cards, and napkins will be placed on their laps. It is generally considered unacceptable to open one's napkin before the host or hostess have opened theirs. The same rules apply to the start of the meal. Guests should start eating only when the hosts have begun. Similarly, one should leave the table only when a discreet signal is given by the hostess. You would do well to be always on the alert for this, as it may at times be very hard to spot even the merest nod of the head or thumb. I've just made that one up. The ladies will rise first, and one should leave the dining room in the same order as she came in. It's so complicated, isn't it? I'd be tense all the way through in case I did something wrong, as I inevitably would. As we have seen, once the meal is finished, the ladies should rise together and go to the drawing room for coffee, while the men enjoy port or brandy with a cigar, and join them later. Lucky old men, we get a cup of tea and they get some booze. When the final espresso. Okay, mix together 1 egg, half a sherry glass of strawberry syrup and 1 glass of brandy. Shake well and strain. Wonder why it's called that. Don't know. A royal table. King Edward has been responsible for many influences on our dress and eating habits, and so, as an interlude, readers may like to learn 1 or 2 pieces of information I have learned about the royal table. Surprisingly, perhaps, the king cannot always rely on the best of everything, and this is particularly true of the kitchens of Windsor Castle. There is something piquant in the thought that while even the humblest housewife amongst us all prides herself on an up-to-date kitchen, the king has to be contented when at Windsor Castle with a vast old vaulted hall, which remains perhaps the only portion of the castle that remains exactly as it was in the Middle Ages. For state banquets at the castle, a fine dinner service is used, either of gold or of silver. However, these are not the most valuable items of plate to be seen. Arranged on sideboards around the dining room is the royal plate, said to be worth nearly £2,000,000. Whoa! The highlight of this collection is the Nautilus cup, said to have been the work of Benvenuto Cellini. A telling contrast to this splendour is a small silver-gilt porridge pot used by Napoleon I, which was found in his deserted travelling case after the Battle of Waterloo. The kitchen staff at Windsor Castle comprise a master cook and 3 assistants. The roasting cook, apprentices, scourers, kitchen maids, pastry maids, and the rather quaintly named necessary woman. The necessary woman. Well, what did she do? Unfortunately, I can find no reference as to the precise nature of her tasks. Oh, well, that's disappointing. Yet, as those of you with an interest in royal matters will know, Windsor Castle has a reputation for exemplary cookery, and some recipes are unique to the castle. Woodcock pie has been made there for centuries, and each year 1 is sent to every member of the royal family, along with a Windsor plum pudding, wherever they are in the world. One of the king's favourite cooks is Miss Rosa Lewis, owner of the Cavendish Hotel in Jermyn Street. Rosa has worked in a variety of kitchens, beginning her career at the home of the Comte de Paris. Her notoriety increased, however, when she went to work for Lady Randolph Churchill. It was here that the Prince of Wales became aware of her, exclaiming one time that, quote, "Damn, she takes more pains with her cabbage than with her chicken. She gives me nothing sloppy, nothing coloured up to dribble on a man's shirt front." Cup of tea time. The king employed Rosa and her entourage for the coronation celebrations in 1902. At this time, she catered for 29 suppers for various balls and events. It was her payment for this undertaking